What is the weirdest slash most extreme thing you've done to get a love interest's attention? Had a girlfriend back in college. Suspected that she was cheating on me due to her not picking up any of my calls. So I used to pay phone and she immediately picked up the phone call. Turns out she was actually cheating on me. I wish I could pick lottery numbers with my gut because it always seemed to be right. It was 4th grade. I was making valentines for my class. I was gluing candy hearts on paper. Everyone in my class got a very platonic conversation heart, except my crush. He got one that said be mine. I still remember the anxiety I had in class that day handing out my valentines, hoping that he would think it was just a fluke conversation heart that he got, or maybe it would be more. Question mark? It was quite the Tina from Bob's Burgers moment. He didn't even notice, ripped the candy off the paper and promptly ate it. Jason, if you are reading this, I don't even like you anymore. So there. I learned all the lyrics to his favorite Tupac's greatest hits. Then I would walk by and rap things like hate to sound sleazy, but tease me. I don't want it, if it's that easy. I was 12. It could honestly be a Pen 15 episode. That is the cutest thing ever. 10/10ths. Many years ago, I became rather enamored with a young woman named Alina. She was a slender brunette with emerald colored eyes and an infectious smile. And based solely on the fact that I found her so attractive, I decided that we were destined to be together. There was only one problem. Although Alina and I shared more than a few interests and personality traits, she had somehow neglected to notice that we were perfectly matched. So I set out to show her that may have sounded more sinister than I'd intended. Anyway, I put my plan into effect on the night before Valentine's Day, after sneakily determining what sort of gifts Alina liked to receive, by way of asking her, hey, Alina, what sort of gifts do you like to receive? I managed to procure a small plant in a blue pot. With the help of the girl's roommate, I would enter Alina's kitchen, leave the item somewhere just out of sight, and then wait for her to discover it the following morning. Looking back on things now, I realized that she probably would have wound up thinking, oh god, did he break into my house? Exclamation mark, at best. But I wasn't in the clearest state of mind at the time, because I just assumed that she'd be swept off her feet by the seemingly magical manifestation of a romantic present. As it turned out, neither of those possibilities came to pass. See, Alina was supposed to be working on the evening in question, but she'd had a last-minute change of schedule, returning home less than a minute after I had arrived. Her roommate and I exchanged hurried whispers about places where I might sequester myself, but since time was of the essence, I had to make do with curling up behind the counter which separated the kitchen from the living room. Several seconds passed in tense silence before I heard Alina's voice. Hi, Maximum. You can't see me, I replied. I'm hiding. Fortunately, even though I had thoroughly failed to surprise her, at least in the way that I'd intended, Alina nonetheless appreciated the effort. She accepted the plant with a genuine smile, and it only broadened after I started explaining why I had been sneaking around in her apartment. Then, after hearing my story, she asked why I had attempted such a convoluted way of giving her a gift. All I could say was that it had seemed like a good idea at the time. TL. Doctor, I hid in my crush's kitchen on the night before Valentine's Day. This was done to me, not by me, but it's weird as hell, so I think it deserves a mention. Years ago when I was in cosmetology school, I gave a dude a haircut. We had a very normal, small talk kind of conversation during which I mentioned that I hadn't eaten breakfast. I finish the haircut. He pays and leaves. About an hour later, dude shows back up at the salon with one of every single item on the McDonald's breakfast menu. There were dozens of bags of food. So much breakfast. All of the breakfast. I would have loved this. It was great until he sat outside the salon every day waiting for me to come outside after closing. Tried following me home. After having the cops called, he came into the salon screaming the next day that I owed him a date. I'm afraid of heights, but went bungee jumping with her. She didn't want to do it alone, so we went tandem. Happily married for 10 years now. That's incredible. Would you do it again if she asked? Yes. For her I would do it again. Ate grass and then headbutted a street sign. You a dear my dude. Back when I was in high school I knew of people lots that did this thing called pineapple toast. Basically, LLY. Every Tuesday I'll bring pineapples into school. Cool. Not like sliced up ones for lunch or anything. Whole fucking pineapples that aren't cut. Then for the day I'd post updates on Twitter of how the pineapple was doing throughout the day in all your classes and parade it around the school. Cool. I decided to do that at my school to impress some females, and it was a hit. People loved it and would find me on Tuesdays to pose with the pineapple, and it even got me a date to the upcoming prom. However, the plan took a fatal turn when my date realized I was a fucking weirdo, and I ended up never talking to her again after that. But two dudes did get a simultaneous hand job from her after prom that night, so that's good for them. The all cross country skier. I was a young idiot and thought that I could convince this guy that I was good enough for him to date me by writing 52 pages of shitty love poetry and leaving them in his locker. It didn't go over well, and I couldn't figure out why until I got older and realized that I used to be a fucking creep. Should have written 1 page a day and left them anonymously. Yes, but that would have required me to not be an idiot. T-Net Extreme. This question reminded me of an incident in my I was working at a pizza place, and me and a other guy plus a very hot girl was working there one evening. I don't remember how it started, but in an effort to impress said girl we embarked on a escalating series of physical tasks to show whom of us was the strongest. Cold lift the most of heavy stuff around the street. I think we lifted about everything that wasn't bolted to the floor. And it eventually ended in a draw. And funnily enough we both ended up having sex with her during our time there, so it was a fair outcome. Though several guys there ended up having sex with her, so I guess that says more about her than our achievements. Not me, but a friend threw a Taco Bell sauce pack that said "I like you" at this dude's head. She said she liked athletes, so I took up juggling and posted the videos on YouTube. Kindergarten. Age 4 or 5. My classroom shared an interior door with his classroom. No idea why. I fixated on him. No idea why. I slipped little paper hearts under the door to him, and he would be teased about it by his classmates. A few years later, we're on friendly terms. I straight up told him that we were gonna get married and have 12 kids. Now, we've known each other for 30 years. Our sexuality isn't compatible. He's more like a sibling and one of my roommates. In high school, there was a girl I knew liked the 2 new GIO cab RDS. I found this out from a mutual friend, and so I thought I'd try out drawing a ton version of her favorite card, alligator sword. Strange card to have as a favorite. But I respected that. Mine at the time was Formula Synchron. Anyway, I drew the card out the best I could in the toon art style. But it's what our mutual friend did that made it weird. Our mutual friend wrote, "Will you be my happy lover?" on it without me noticing. When I gave it to the girl I liked, she loved it so much. She was just about to give me her number before reading that on the back. Acknowledged. Found out in that moment. And then she said, "I didn't know you were that serious about me." We ended up not dating just because of that. Moral of the story: don't change anything involving a friend's relationship unless asked by those involved. Okay, this was 4th grade, so fair warning at how cringe this is. Also on phone. So I was a super weird anime girl in 4th grade, and I had a crush on like the most popular guy. He however was dating the most popular girl. My stupid ass was like, well, she talks a lot, so if I show him I can talk a lot and talk very fast, then obviously he'll leave her for me. Oh god, why? So it was art class, and he was at my table. Perfect timing. I got this. "Hey name, have you ever watched Naruto?" And this was the beginning of a very speedy but long review of the entire show. But at the end I got nervous, because obviously he wasn't impressed, so the next goal was to just lick my lips as furiously as I could. For a solid 30 seconds. I was not allowed to talk to him for the next 3 years, and then he moved schools. I still internally die inside when I remember this. Edit. Fixed typo. For me it was when I wanted to give my teddy to my girl now ex as a token of my love. My taxi didn't come that day, so I really wanted to give it to her, so I just left and walked it all the way to college. When I got there I had missed first and second period. It was lunchtime. I was out of breath. I gave the girl the bear, totally worth it. I was out with a buddy and spotted a girl I wanted to talk to. We both walked up to her and I asked, "Do you recognize me?" When she said no, I turned to my buddy and said, "I told you no one watches gay porn." Exclamation mark. "You put me through all that for nothing." Exclamation mark. My buddy stood there in shock as she dragged me onto the dance floor. We dated for 5 years. Wow. Tell me, what was the reason she dragged you onto the dance floor, please? Because she thought it was the funniest thing a guy had ever said to her. She laughed all night about it. I wrote "I have a crush on your first name" on the blackboard and told him to look at it. He kept ignoring my advances, but was otherwise really friendly, and we used to tease each other a lot during classes. We were assigned seats at the same table. Every table had 2 students each, and we'd sometimes switch seats with each other just because. Once, on my birthday, I had specifically told my teacher not to have the class sing for me, and they didn't. But then my crush comes along when I'm just sitting by myself, drawing, and he has a couple friends with him. They start singing happy birthday to me, and it was really awkward, but also so sweet. How did we not end up married? Marcus, if you're reading this, did you not notice or? Question mark. When I first started working out in 8th grade, I developed a lot of muscle mass very quickly. My arms got jacked, and I was very proud of them. I sat near my crush, and would nonchalantly always raise my sleeves up and flex, trying to make it look like I wasn't doing it on purpose. Unfortunately, I was still going through that ugly phase, so nothing panned out. Some guy even embarrassed me in class by saying, "Will, why do you always flex?" out loud in middle of a break. I told him catch me in a pair race. The guy was jogging on purpose, so he wouldn't be too tired at the end. Turns out that dude could have ran twice faster as me, and I needed to sprint for 10 more minutes to not be caught. My heart was racing for more than just one reason that day, and I think I almost threw up. He asked me on a date 2 weeks later, just to ditch me 4 months later for better studies in a school worse than ours. After a series of failures to woo love interests, I began to analyze the next partner how it was able to woo that interest, to try to understand the delta between me and that person. The idea was to determine what that person had that I did not, and try to integrate that into myself to be more successful in the future. Yup, in reality, this resulted in me identifying one visible attribute that I would likely generate the most appeal and integrating that. This led me to drop 60 pounds. LBS, get into weightlifting. I take up motorcycle racing. I become a fire performer. Organize and promote EDM shows with my friends. NDS, get my finances and retirement plan together. And join the military. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.